Following on from my video on the Rekkles controversy the other day, we've had a multitude of things happen in regard to the situation, including a response from Rekkles himself and the maker of the offending video, Thorin. Let's go over them now in chronological order. As a few of you may have seen, basically at the time of me posting the initial video, T1 CEO Joe Marsh put forth his thoughts on the situation to Esports. I pinned the comment just as I posted the last video, but in case you missed it, we'll start with that. Joe said to Esports, quote, "I can't speak for Martin as an 18-year-old, but as a 28-year-old, he was a fantastic person and teammate. Our experience with him at T1 was overwhelmingly positive. During Worlds 2024, as part of our main roster, the team genuinely enjoyed having him around. I'll never forget our conversation backstage before the trophy ceremony about his next step with Los Ratones and his good friend Kadril. He will always have a home in Keria with T1. Martin is family." As Rekkles' most recent boss, bar Kadril, this is probably the most accurate recent insight into his current professional and personal conduct and how he operates in team environments. And should I add, with the correct amount and type of support. When Rekkles was diagnosed, it was common knowledge T1 did everything they could to accommodate his needs. As well as a very healthy team dynamic, Rekkles was often seen enjoying his time with the other players, and they had nothing but positive things to say about him. Main players, such as Keria, would even invite him to spend time together, like in this clip.
2-0. Bro, Izeu's fucking fried in his head. What's he saying? 2-0 minus 3.
2-0 minus 3. You can come anytime. You can come to this room every day or anything or everything you want. 언제든지 와도 된다.
It also makes me think that when he was playing on teams in the past, no one knew of his diagnosis, which, at no fault of anyone, would have led to less than ideal support networks and handling of his condition. This also could partly explain why there was friction with his LEC teams in the past. Following Joe's response was Thorin's own response in the same article on Dot. This wall of text was prompted by Thorin after he saw Bwippo and Brox's response to the whole situation. It doesn't make sense to put their responses here, as I did in the last video, so if you aren't quite up to speed, it's all in my previous video in the description. Oh, and if you have been enjoying the content I've been making to keep you up to speed, a sub would be greatly appreciated, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you in advance. Now I'm going to give a TLDR, then read the whole thing, because there are a lot of details a TLDR would miss. If you just do want the TLDR for the third time, I'll have the timestamp in the timeline to skip ahead. In the text, he says he doesn't think Broxah was lying, but wasn't happy he, quote, suggested he got his information from some randoms that think they know Rekkles. He thinks that Bwippo's response actually reinforces his point, but that his perception of and relationship with Rekkles has changed over the years. He rounds it off with, quote, "I have never lied in my entire 23-year professional career, and when it comes to dealing with sources, I both protect them fiercely and vet them vigorously." Now for the full excerpt that has a lot of other details, but feel free to skip ahead if you only wanted the TLDR. Quote, "I don't think Broxah is lying, and I think he is well within his rights to express himself on this matter however he pleases, and I don't doubt his experiences. My issue with his statement is that he suggested I went back and got the information from, quote, some randoms that think they know Rekkles. I got my information from people who were in the room with him when the events in question played out, and as I reiterated in the Nemesis section, what I published is their account of those events, and I used traditional journalistic methods of cross-referencing blind to confirm this was a shared sentiment. I'm confused as how you can even interpret Bwippo's statements as being a denial of the claims made. It appears he simply now has a different perspective on who Rekkles was back then and how he relates to him now. That seems entirely valid to me, and Bwippo is someone who has quite recently publicly struggled with issues regarding his own behavior. So I imagine he is in a reflective mood and apt to be more generous than he might have once been. He has always struck me as an earnest and honest person, just like Broxah, despite us having publicly clashed and disagreed on many topics. I can summarize my thoughts on teammates speaking out as follows. I don't claim to have spoken to or for everyone who has worked with Rekkles in his career. In every team, there will be different alliances, disputes, and sentiments that are not all collectively shared by the entire group. What I will say is that I have never lied in my entire 23-year professional career, and when it comes to dealing with sources, I both protect them fiercely and vet them vigorously. What I published is a faithful and honest account of multiple people working with Rekkles in every era of his career, and that information was transmitted to me within the last year and a half. A key motivating factor for me publishing the piece is that so many of the people who were around Rekkles were tired of, and even in some cases sickened by, having to put up a facade that their experience with him was pleasant or that they liked him and think how he behaved was acceptable. That is a long ass sentence. As I explained early in the video, they felt as if speaking out would simply stain their reputation due to his sheer popularity and goodwill within the general fanbase, and lead to them being harassed by hostile comments online. I think the public response to my publication of their accounts, hours before anyone had seen the video no less, validates their expectations in that sense. I'm willing to be the shield that tanks said hostility for the sake of getting their stories and perspectives out there. Many people felt they had to bottle up their emotions and suppress their negative experiences for the sake of maintaining a fan perception of Rekkles. That has now ended, and people are welcome to believe whatever they please. My track record of honesty and credibility in this industry speaks for itself. So other than him replying here, Thorin doubled down and posted another Rekkles video called a Rekkles retrospective video. Not sure if it was because talking about Rekkles is the only thing that gets him views, or what. It was just a compilation of him talking down on Rekkles over the years. Here's a clip.
In terms of just the aesthetic, he's a good looking guy. He's got a lot of fangirls as a result. He's a guy who very good, what you'd call like a clean cut image if you were in the West. He has a great on camera personality. He comes across as like humble but confident. He doesn't seem cocky. Seems like a likable figure. As a result, he's got a huge personal fan base. I mean, Fnatic as a team always had a bigger fan base, but it seems like his fan base extends beyond that, because before he was definitely in Fnatic during that Ahmed period, people were very hyped around him. It feels like some Fnatic fans have left and gone over with him to Alliance. There's a lot of people want to see him do well and think that he can do well. He's got, seemingly, when you go down like that, everything's going for him. And yet, I don't think I'm being unfair if I say that to me. When I read other people's opinions of Rekkles and I see how he's built, in line with all these factors here, I think he might be the most overrated player in the entire world.
I do have to say though, I kind of prefer the older, or I guess younger, Thorin. He just sounds less angsty and more sincere. I could actually probably listen to this version. Even if he is more pleasant to listen to, this video also copped a harsh reception with just over 500 likes and 3,500 dislikes, and one of the top comments reading, quote, "I wish we had Hextech chests instead of your existence, Thorin." Now before we move on to the next section, which is other creators such as Jankos reacting, I'd like to give a quick word to today's sponsor. If you're like one of thousands of League of Legends players that suffer through solo queue toxicity every day, I may just have the solution for you. This is TapInGG, a premium coaching and duo service designed to pair you with a verified teammate of your choosing, or a coach to iron out any unwanted gameplay patterns that are holding you back. Whatever you want to choose, a teammate to rely on, or an avenue to improve your skill, TapIn is the premium solo queue companion. Not only does this make braving the solo queue environment and climbing that much easier, I've also got a 25% off code for you to use on your first 2 orders. To activate it, head to the link in the description, and thank you so much to TapInGG for being our partner for this video. In Thorin's video, Jankos was mentioned a lot, as he and Rekkles were longtime teammates, and so it was expected of him to speak up. In this video, he speaks on not wanting to get involved, but also says that people can change for the better, meaning even if Rekkles had or caused issues in the past, it doesn't necessarily mean that is how it is today. He also voices his support for Rekkles, meaning there are no residual hard feelings.
Kokos, are you going to review the drama, or are you going to avoid it like a plague? That's a good question, actually. And I'm aware that it's happening. I'm aware that there is some drama. And from my understanding, people said that they shouldn't participate in it by not reacting to it, right? How I see it, at least, is like, I don't really want to participate in it at all. I did not speak to Thorin about any of this. And by any of this, I didn't even watch the video, but I read some comments on Twitter, I think, from like what people said, what was in the video. But I did not participate in any of the And I think people can change. And I was also a shitty teammate at some point in my career, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying Rekkles was or Rekkles was not. The point is that people can change for the better. And what was, it doesn't need to be. And I also have things that I'm not proud of that I would not necessarily want to talk about. So I understand Rekkles' reaction to it, that, you know, he canceled scrims and he got, like, he was anxious about it. And I think that's like a perfectly normal, you know, reaction to it. And I also don't really want to react with this more, you know what I mean? I am definitely considering making a tweet about it to actually support Rekkles and not to slander him. Not even like trying to support Rekkles, just like people can change for the better, you know what I mean? Like, like especially, I mean, there's a lot of controversies in the league world, right? But the person you are 3-4 years ago is not the same person you can be now or today. So I mean, I'm gonna be honest, right? Like you guys know that me and Rekkles didn't always have like the same view over the game, but this is the point, you know what I mean? That people can change, and just because you don't view the game the same way, it doesn't mean that someone deserves what's happening to him right now. And I don't think Rekkles deserves it, really.
That was also coupled with this very mature tweet. I didn't talk with Thorin about Rekkles, nor watch the video he made. Back in the day, me and Rekkles had different views on how the game should be played. That is it. Since I don't know what was said, I just want to remind everyone that nobody is perfect, and that doesn't mean we can't change for the better. This tweet pretty much mirrors what he said in the video. I also saw a video of Doublelift speaking on Rekkles after he watched my video and giving an explanation as well as some insight into the professional league scene, also in Rekkles' support. He then says, shocker, Rekkles' image...
Wait, hold on. I need to think about this again. Did he just say he chose not to comment on the fact that Rekkles has autism when he's like talking about his personality? Dude, this Thorin is literally just a roach. Like, he's actually a roach. He's like a leech on the community. It's insane to me that he's able to profit and make any money off of his content. There's already a level of, I think, like a regular person has some understanding that like a kid would struggle with being like going from like introvert nerd playing League all day to being one of the most popular League of Legends players in the world, the biggest game in the world, the biggest esport in the world. And then you're already going to give someone a pretty big pass for making mistakes, as long as their attitude about it is generally like apologetic, you know, like as long as they're like painting themselves as like a fucking saint the entire time with no regrets and doing some shady stuff behind the scenes. As far as I understand, that's not what Rekkles did. He made mistakes as a player, as a teammate, just like everyone that I know and myself. So yeah, but then you're gonna give like an extra layer of sympathy if he has autism as well.
And before we get into Rekkles' reaction himself, Nemesis, who also had words to say on Thorin because he too was mentioned in the video.
Yeah, apparently I also hated Rekkles, I didn't know that. I learned all of that recently. The most credentialed journalist out there making retarded claims. Nice. He heard about it, also told, and sources also confirmed he thinks it must be true. Yeah, I mean, you know. Nemesis, you were mentioned in Thorin's video a couple of times. But who cares? Stop mentioning the grandpa, okay? Uncle didn't take his pills, so he's yapping. A bit too much nonsense. Forgot his maths. Like, he really does remind me of those 70-year-old grandpas that watch football and rage in front of a TV.
And then yesterday, what everyone had been waiting for, Rekkles' response. It's more or less what you'd expect, again reiterating he hasn't watched or interacted with anything to do with the situation, but gives insight into how he's feeling in the wake of it all. I've cut it up here to be a bit more succinct.
I didn't watch the video. I didn't watch the trailer, and I don't want to answer questions about it because of that. And the reason is, I want to get back on track mentally as soon as possible and focus on what is ahead of me. Anything to do with the trailer video, answering questions will just keep me in the past, and I don't want to be there. And then the emotional state, haven't been that good, feeling a bit better now, but still not that great. And with time I will be fine, I think. Especially, I think after the split. So I kind of wanted to end with this, but basically my plan to get good again, to feel good again about myself, is to take a break after the split. Right now there's not really time for it, so the days that I took before were more like just to survive. It wasn't to feel good again, it was more just to not break apart, more like that. But for now, since there is not really time for that, I'm just gonna keep going as much as I can. Do my best every day. So the last thing I want to say is just a big thank you to everyone for sending me messages. I read that Discord group chat, which was called Wholesome Talk, when this happened, and I've been reading it over the days, and it's been like one of the few places on the internet where I knew I could get 100% support. Since I am not feeling that good, and I haven't been feeling that good, it's been hard for me to filter the good and the bad, so to speak. Even if 90% of the comments are positive, the 10% negative kind of like etched on my mind. So having this kind of Discord thing that you guys set up was really helpful, because I knew every time I would go there and read a message, it would be a positive one. So I could reinforce myself that things are all right and there's like a way out of this. And yeah, I'm really glad that you guys helped me with this. So thank you for that. And I want to say thanks to Mark as well for covering while I couldn't play. I think in any other team, this would have been a much bigger mess than it was, but thanks to Mark, he kept everything going anyway, so no big deal, right? In some way, I'm really thankful that Mark is there for me, not only emotionally and talking to me every day and helping me, but actually also covering for me in scrims and making sure the team can keep going anyway. And last, I just want to say thanks to the team as well for giving me space and time to get on my feet.
Anyway, with all that, I think the situation is pretty much dispelled. Not that there ever really should have been anything if Thorin had just left Rekkles alone, and we can all move on now, because honestly, I gotta start paying Rekkles some royalties if I use this dude's handsome head for another thumbnail. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!